Sorry for the delay. We are going to be starting in about next 5 minutes, definitely. And thanks to dear friends Anu and Hari and other musicians in this area, we are able to put together this program in such a short notice. Before we begin, we are going to have an invocation song by Keshav Vishwanathan.
वक्रतुंड महाकाय वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गणपतिरवतु मां श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां सिद्धिविनायको मातङ्गमुख श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां सिद्धिविनायको मातङ्गमुख श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां सिद्धिविनायको ओ मातङ्गमुख श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां कामजनक कामजनक विधीन्द्र सन्नुत कामजनक विधीन्द्र सन्नुत कामजनक विधीन्द्र सन्नुत कमलालय तटनिवासो कामजनक विधीन्द्र सन्नुत कमलालय तटनिवासो कोमलतर पल्लव परकर गुरुगुहाग्रज शिवात्मज कोमलतर पल्लव परकर गुरुगुहाग्रज शिवात्मज पमधिमिरिगम तर्णकुजं निसरि कीटतमनिस चणुतनिसरिमा तकणं मगमतनत पापमधिमितमपनितदिमि तरिपनि सरि कुकुन्दकु मपनितकीटजं त्रिगमतदिमि तरि निसरि सकुकुन्दकु पनिपतदिमि तरि त्रिगमरि सजं तरित सानिपम तरिगिण त्वं श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां सिद्धिविनायको मुख श्री महा सुवर्ण कषण विघ्नराजो पादाम्बुजो गौरवर्ण वसनधरो फालचन्द्रो सुवर्ण कषण विघ्नराजो पादाम्बुजो गौरवर्ण वसनधरो फालचन्द्रो नरहरि विनुतलम्बोदरो कुवलय स्वविषाण पाशाङ्कुशमोदक प्रकाशकरो भवजलधि नावो प्रकाशकरो भवजलधि नावो मूल प्रकृति स्वभाव सुखतरो प्रकाशकरो भवजलधि नावो मूल प्रकृति स्वभाव सुखतरो कवि सहस्र सन्निभदेवो रवि सहस्र सन्निभदेवो कवि जननुत मूषिकवाहो रवि सहस्र सन्निभदेवो कवि जननुत मूषिकवाहो अवनत देवता समूहो अविनाश कैवल्यगेवो अवनत देवता समूहो अविनाश कैवल्यगेवो पमधिमिदिगमतण कुजं निसरिहित निस जनुत निसरि म तकणं मगमतन तप पमधिमितमपनित दिमि पनिसरि कुकुद भूम पनित गितजं तिगमतरिमि तरि निसरि स कुकुद कुपनि पतरिमि तरि निगमरि स जं तरि दसानि पमतरि गिनतुं श्री महागणपतिरवतु मां सिद्धिविनायको ओ मातङ्गमुख श्री महा गणपतिरवतु
Shri Guru Namaha. A warm welcome to Dr. Radha Bhaskar, Shri Mudra Bhaskar, and our own artist, Mr. Sri Saravana Priyam. It gives me great pleasure, it's an honor to introduce such a versatile artist. And we're so happy to have you here, ma'am. Dr. Radha Bhaskar, a musician and a musicologist, is well known in the circles of Carnatic music lovers all over the world. Her husband, Shri Mudra Bhaskar, is an accomplished Mridangam Vidwan, as we all know. The couple co-founded the Mudra Fine Arts a few decades ago. Their services under the banner of Mudra for the cause of Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam are remarkable. Besides being high-ranking performers themselves, the Bhaskars have hosted all the prominent musicians and dancers in their popular sabha, Mudra Fine Arts, for over decades. Their service in bringing to limelight promising young talent is unparalleled. And so, when I read her resume, there was no way to trim it. It was every line that she had there, I have to talk. I know we are starting this slightly late, but this is, I have to do justice to this. Srimati Radha is a multifaceted personality. She's a great musician, as we all know, and a great musicologist. She is also a teacher, a journalist, a music educator, and cultural organizer. To each of these fields, she brings forth her deep passion for music and leaves an indelible mark with her significant contributions. In October 2004, she conducted a spectacular group singing program with 5,000 school children from 100 schools, which was witnessed by the then President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam. Another spectacular show that was coordinated by her was the mass singing by 10,000 school and college children. Recognizing her stewardship in the conduct of such mass musical events, the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, extended her special grant enabling her to conduct group singing en masse under the theme National Integration through Music. Please give her a big round of applause just for that. Srimati Radha, the musician, is a senior disciple of Padma Bhushan Sri P.S. Narayana Swami. Earlier, she learned from Srimati Jaya Shankar from Kolkata and Vairamangalam Sri Lakshmi Narayana. She has performed widely in all leading sabhas and television channels in India and all over the world. With a strong desire to enlighten Rasikas about Carnatic music, Srimati Radha performs many thematic concerts like Trimurti Vaibhavam, Tyagaraja Vaibhavam, Navaratnangal, Pancharatnangal, Saptaratnangal. I'm just reading these as one word, but I know what it takes to do a production of each one of this. It would have taken many months of research to bring them out. And concerts highlighting contributions of eminent composers, concerts that bring out various raga aspects. There are many to list here. Radha, the musicologist, has a doctorate degree in music. She has curated and organized many one-day seminars and national conferences for Mudra, which was supported by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. She has presented many lecture demonstrations, which a lot of us here would have attended, and moderated several panel discussions in eminent sabhas, and is regularly featured in the national seminars on performing arts organized by Kalakshetra. As a music educator, Dr. Radha realized there was a need to create discerning audience for Carnatic music. Towards this goal, she conducted the unique music appreciation programs, and over 15,000 people have benefited from this. Another round of applause, please. Srimati Radha also conducted a 12-month music appreciation series called Sangeeta Saurabha, supported by the Ministry of Culture. She was invited to Delhi by the Sangeet Natak Academy to conduct a 2-day workshop on appreciating Carnatic music. The Embassy of Muscat and organizations in Singapore and Malaysia also organized music workshops by her, which had overwhelming responses. As a journalist, she has vast experience being the editor of the monthly arts magazine, Samudra, for over 18 years. This magazine, with its noteworthy content, including valuable interviews of eminent personalities and articles, it won wide acclaim amongst the art community. She also worked as a music critic for the New India Express for over 8 years under the pen name Bharani. She also contributed articles for the journals of Sangeet Research Academy in Kolkata and Shanmukananda Fine Arts. As a cultural organizer, Dr. Radha has 28 years of experience being the treasurer of the unique cultural organization, Mudra, founded by her husband, Shri Mudra Bhaskar. Mudra Arts has many milestones to its credit and has devised many new innovative and creative concepts to encompass more Rasikas into the fold of fine arts. She definitely deserves another. Srimati Radha and Shri Mudra Bhaskar offer free webcast of all their programs to a global audience through their channel Palam TV. They also run Palam Radio, a 24-hour free channel dedicated exclusively to Carnatic music. That's not all. She has done many unique projects, and my favorite was the one that she recently completed. It was an online series, Carnatic Music 365, and where she presented a video bite every day for 365 days continuously. Each of these videos covered various topics of interest in Carnatic music. Similarly, she has done many programs, and another one that really impressed me was a notable one, was the documentation of the life and contribution of Srimati D.K. Patamal for an archive project for the All India Radio. As a musician and as a person who's into a similar field, I can fully relate to every line I read here. Is several years of research, and each project should have taken several hours. So I just couldn't drop anything. In fact, I would have dropped a few, I'm sure, but it was not. I would not do justice otherwise. Other honors: Radha served as the expert member in the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, and also she's been a member of the Board of Studies of Indian Music at Madras University, and Hyderabad University, and Annamalai University. I wonder where you find the time. She was also a panel member for setting question papers for the exams of BA, MA, and PhD courses in music. So I wish more students had attended today because it would have benefited them. Radha was selected as a member of the Rotary International's Group Study Exchange Program to visit Arizona, USA in 1997. Currently, she is the director of the Vani Sangeeta Gurukulam of Sri Tyaga Brahmakana Sabha, Chennai, and takes advanced classes there. And there are many, many titles. I know it would have taken a lot for you to earn each and every one of them. Can I go over them? Her recent title was Seva Ratna in Cleveland Aradhana this April. Please give her a big round of applause. We welcome you and we look forward to your presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
It is indeed a pleasure for us to have Srimati Radha Bhaskar and Shri Bhaskar. And I'm quickly going to take a few minutes to introduce, for those who really don't know, Dr. Saravana Priyan Sri Raman, who's right here, who's going to be accompanying almost all of us are not living under a rock, so we know Shri Dr. Saravana Priyan. I'll quickly read out this information for many of you. Saravana Priyan is the senior disciple of Lalgudi G.J.R. Krishnan. Lalgudi G.J.R. Krishnan is the torchbearer of the illustrious and famed Lalgudi Bani, pioneered and established by his father and Guru, Sri Lalgudi G.J. Raman. Saravana Priyan learned violin initially from Srimati Komalavalli Srinivasan and later under Sri Thiruvarur Balasubramaniam. Subsequently, he had the opportunity to learn from the veteran Sri Thiruparkadal Veeraraghavan. Since 2001, he has been fortunate to train under Lalgudi Sri G.J.R. Krishnan. Saravana Priyan's exposure to several distinguished violin styles has made him appreciate the intricacies and finer nuances of violin playing. He has received awards, the Best Violinist Award from BDS Arts Academy and Mylapore Fine Arts in the year 1992. Idu kai thattalam, please. In addition, Saravanan is also a competent and talented vocalist. Saravanan style of violin playing is noted highly for accurate aesthetic sensitivity to music, tonal perfection, and sparkling creativity, combined with a deep spiritual quality and a highly proactive support while accompanying. I may not be doing justice to all the achievements that he has done, but for many of you, Saravanan provides comprehensive guidance in the art of violin playing in Carnatic music for both soloist accompanists, music theory and historical facts with meticulous attention and detail to purity. Through his school, Nada Lahari, several of his students are upcoming artists in the music scene, are well sought out as accompanists, and are distinguished winners in several competitions. Saravanan is an executive director of product development in the semiconductor industry in Silicon Valley.
We are not done yet. There is an old adage. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to say a new one. There is a man behind every successful woman. So, in fact, I have 1.5 pages worth of things to read. Most of them have been said by my dear friend Anu. I am just going to read a few lines. Mudra Bhaskar is a rare combination of a cultural organizer, mridangam artist, producer, designer, and printer. The rest of the information you can go and see in mudra.in website. But because he's accompanying his wife, as a pair they are very successful, and I know people that are really busy, they have more time to be even busier. So that's what I've seen with this couple. They don't know being tired at all. And amidst their work, they always have a smile. I don't know how they accomplish that. That is the biggest accomplishment. You know, all of us just do a couple of things and become very tired, right? But they are very, very different. Adhikku kai thattalam. As a mridangam artist, Mudra Bhaskar is an accomplished mridangam vidwan with concert experience over 42 years. He started learning mridangam from Sri Managuri A. Ishwaran and has a vast experience in the field of Carnatic music. He has accompanied many concerts by eminent artists all over India and abroad. He also had his advanced training in mridangam for a few years from Guru Sri Karikudi or Mani and Thiruvaru Sri Bhaktavatsram. He had his Arangetram, which is not required. You have 42 years. Why do you talk about Arangetram now? He has accompanied many senior vidwans. I'm just going to lead that list for you to be just audit. Okay. Dr. K.J. Jesus, Vedavalli, where is Tyagarajan, email is not sometimes. See, if you listen to radio ads, sometimes they go like to say all those things. I would like to do that, but you have to know. The email is Tan Gopal, Ranjani and Gayatri, while do it. T.M. Krishna, Sanjay Subramaniam, Jayanti Kumaresh, Vijay Shiva, Veena, B. Kannan, E. Gayatri, Dr. Lokanath Sharma, Subna Prasad, Prapancham, Dr. Sita Raman. Because next 2 years are going to be really serious. So let's start a little bit of comic element there. With that, I'm just going to leave them to you. I don't want to stand between them and you. Dr. Radha Bhaskar, stage is yours. Thank you.
कलावती कमलासन युवती कलावती कमलासन युवती कलावती
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, but not enough, I think.
Closer. A very good evening to all of you. First of all, my sincere thanks to Srimati Anuradha Sridhar and Shri Ashok Subramanian for giving us this wonderful opportunity to come here and present, rather make a presentation on the topic of musical excellence in the compositions of the Trinity. I'm very happy to see a lot of students here, so probably we could make it more interactive as well, rather than making it a very kind of a formal presentation. Nevertheless, I'll share a few points first, and then probably we could go ahead with the flow as such. I would also like to share that we did hear a Ganesha Kriti, so I thought, after being inspired in seeing this beautiful temple with a wonderful Saraswati goddess there, I was just thinking of her, and then I thought we could have a Saraswati composition as an invocation here as well. This was, of course, in the Ragam Kalavati, a beautiful composition of Dikshadhar on the Saraswati, goddess Saraswati at Kashmir. We'll come to his contribution a bit later. For students of Carnatic music, it is very important for us to understand that the period of the Trinity as such is known as the golden period in our Carnatic music. Why golden period? The 18th century and the 19th century, where Sri Tyagaraja, Sri Shyama Sastri and Sri Muthuswami Dikshadhar lived, and they created for us a wonderful treasure of compositions, and these compositions hold a lot of value. We all know that they were great devotees of the respective gods that they worshipped. For example, if you take Tyagaraja, he was a great devotee of Lord Rama. If you take Shyama Sastri, for him Bangaru Kamakshi was his very beloved, and his compositions are an outpour of his emotions to the goddess. In the case of Dikshadhar, we see that it was more neutral in the sense that his compositions do not project any kind of specific emotions like Rama or our Shyama Sastri, but he covers a wide gamut of gods and goddesses through his compositions. And in fact, I would say that that is a subject by itself, where we come to know about the mythology of so many gods and goddesses through his compositions. We come to know of many temples. In fact, many temples we don't even know that they existed, but his compositions are a revelation, I would say, in terms of giving us an information about the gods and goddesses in that temple, what color is the beloved for that, the favorite, other things adorning that particular temple. So many details are there. So that is the Sahitya or the lyrical element, which we will not be touching today because that's too vast a subject to handle all at one time. But the point here is, according to me, though we would say that they're all great devotees of the respective gods, beyond that, they were visionary musicians, visionary composers, in what we call as Vagyekara in our own Indian terminology. Vagyekara. Slightly, I would say, it also differs from the word composer as such. There are many terms we try to equate in the English terms, but I would say that many Sanskrit terms have their own beauty and their own connotation, which cannot be really, you cannot put it into a framework like that.
So a composer probably is one who composes, but here Vak Geya Kara means one who composes the Vak and Geya. That is one who creates both the melody and the Sahitya all at the same time. So that is the greatness of these Vagyakaras, where music just floats spontaneously to them as an outpour. Now you may, as students, also ask why there are so many composers all through, so many Vagyakaras who have been there right in the history. If you look, there are so many people. Why do we say that this is the golden period? I would say that this is the time when music took a complete twist in terms of from becoming totally from the bhakti oriented music, it also took a twist of becoming what we call as art music, where the lakshya and the lakshana both came together seamlessly, I would say, in terms of creating the compositions. Just going back a bit in history, for those interested, we have had a series of composers adorning our great music itself. Bhadrachala Ramadas, Sadashiva Brahmendra, Jayadevar, Annamacharya, Narayana Tirthar, going back Tirupugal by Arunagirinadar, then the Tevaram, Divya Prabandham. There have been so many musical forms which have come to us through tradition. But the point is that, of course, the Tevaram, which is one of the oldest music that we've inherited, has got the puns, and luckily we have been able to keep the puns intact in terms of the character. But of course, I won't say that we sing it the same way as they did so many years back. Looking back at this whole history, we see that the Ashtapadis, the Tarangam, and then of course the Haridasas of Karnataka, all of them actually paved the way for the creation of what we call as the Kirtanas in our Carnatic music. And then of course we have the Annamacharya and the Talapaka composers who gave a more kind of a clarity to what we call as the Kirtana with a Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam and so on. But it was at the time of the Trinity we see that this Kriti form, the Kirtana Kriti, both we're going to talk about, took complete shape as an art form, in the sense that beyond the Sahitya aspect, we see that music became a language in itself. That's the beauty. And that's why you also, whether you know Telugu, whether you don't know Sanskrit or know it, beyond that you're able to enjoy the whole composition because of the fact that the music which clothes the Sahitya speaks to you as a separate language by itself. And that's where these three compositions have stood tall, I would say, in terms of giving us what we call as an art music. Before that time, you see that we did have many compositions, but you see that there is a Pallavi and there are multiple charanas and the tunes are all repetitive in nature. So what is happening is that the Sahitya is the predominant aspect, where you see that the Sahitya was used as a means to bhakti, whereas here in the case of the Trinity we see that as much as a Sahitya, the music also became a beautiful vehicle to convey to us many things. Now if you look at their music itself, we see that any composition for a student of music, the basic components of a composition, I would say, can anybody share what are the basic components which make a composition? Anybody can say? I definitely expect you all to be very attractive. This is a very simple question.
Huh? You can be wrong, it's okay.
I don't know anybody's name, that's the problem here. Okay, nevertheless. Raga, Tala, Sahitya. These three are the most basic components which come together to make a composition. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? Okay. So what is a raga? Raga, if you want to put it in English terminology, you would call it melody. But again, here melody is a very limitation term for raga, I would say, in the sense that a raga encompasses much more than what we call as a melody. A raga is all about what we call as, basically, how do you define a ragam? I'm sure all of you are learning music. So how do we define a ragam? I say Kalyani to you. I say Mohanam to you. So how do you picture the ragam first? The foremost thing what you would do. Anybody? Yes, please.
Look at the swarams.
Swarams, yes, that is the Arohana Avarona, that's what we are talking. The ascent and descent of the that particular scale. Yes, please.
Types of gamakams?
Yes, great. Types of gamakams next, yes, please.
The moods that the ragam contains.
What is it?
The mood of the ragam.
Mood of the ragam, okay. That's a very tricky thing, but nevertheless, because we really don't attribute any specific mood as such to any particular ragam. I would say yesterday, in fact, we were driving down and we were discussing about this where I would say that any ragam when presented beautifully makes you feel very nice. The same ragam when presented in a very bad manner can really put you off, isn't it? So actually there is nothing called a mood, but the mood is more a matter of the association which the mind makes. So that's a different subject altogether. Now coming back to raga, basically for us to understand that it is not just about a melody, where you have a arohana, avarohana, somebody said very good. Then we have what we call as the gamakas. Then we have the murchanas, that is the kind of phrases which go to constitute. Every ragam does not work on a scale. So we also have, for example, if you take a ragam like Ridigola, sa ga ri ga ma ni da ma ni ni sa sa ri da ma ga ma pa ma ga ri sa. This doesn't work the way like you would do like a Malayalam Artham, sa re ga pa da ni sa sa ni da pa ga re sa, where the scale is straight and simple and it's more about permutation combination. Whereas the ragas like Ritigola, Ananda Bhairavi, Ahiri, Dhanyashi, all these ragams, they work more on the kind of phrases. Then of course, beyond that we see that there are many things which go to encompass a ragam. Then we also see that in the talam, what we call as rhythm, again loosely translated as rhythm, but a talam is much more than that in terms of what we call as, it is about the whole structure of the composition, in terms of the commencing point, the accent points, the internal structure of the whole composition. Many things go to what we call as a layam or the talam in which it is built. I'll just sing to you probably one particular ragam, just we'll go like that and see what we can do. In the case of the Trinity, first of all, I would like to share that what is special about their compositions is that they have been very traditional in their approach, in the sense that we see they have used many Rakti ragas in their compositions like Todi, Kalyani, Bhairavi, Kambodi, Sahana, then Ananda Bhairavi, Ritigola, like this. The time-tested kind of ragas have also been there. But they have also been great visionaries and innovators in sense of creating their own ragas also, which we'll be discussing about. So they're a perfect blend, I would say. All the Vagekaras, the Trinity, are a perfect blend of tradition and innovation. And that is perfect blend of, again, Lakshya and Lakshana. Now if you take a composition, for example, in the Ragam Varali, just at random I'm taking, what we have to remember is that all the three of them have composed just one common ragam, like we have Shankarabharanam, Kambodi, then Kalyani, Bhairavi, all these ragams, we see that all the three have composed compositions. So in that category, the Varali also comes in. I will take three compositions in the same Mishra Chaputala. You will observe that they were masters in terms of understanding the whole Lakshya of the ragam, the Lakshana of the ragam. So what is the basic necessity characteristics of the ragam is kept intact. But then again, though they were contemporaries, this is again one of the most, some of the things in history are very amazing, where they lived in the same place, but yet they were able to charter their own path, their own journey in terms of the going in music. So first, Tyagarajar, I'm taking three compositions, Eti Janma Vidya of Tyagarajar, then Mamava Meenakshi of Dikshadhar, and Kamakshi of Shyama Sastri. You'd see that the Lakshana of Varali is kept intact, but how each one goes in that journey of Varali is what makes it very interesting. Probably I'll sing 2 lines of each and then we'll see how to go about it. ಏಟಿ ಜನ್ಮ ಮೇದಿಹ ಓರ ಏಟಿ ಜನ್ಮ ಮೇದಿಹ ಓರ ಏಟಿ ಜನ್ಮ A simple thing here, where Tyagaraja, of course, has composed many compositions in Varali. I just took this as an example to show you how, in the first phrase itself, he moves towards the Tarasthai Shadja as a focal point. Yeti janma miriha. And the entire composition here actually revolves around the Tarasthai Shadja and the Tarasthai itself. So that is the focal point that he has taken. The same Mishra Chaputalam we see in the composition of Dikshadhar, where the Ma and the Pa become the focal point. Ma, Meenakshi. Then he comes to the Shadja. Rajama Tangi Manikavallagi Vani. Shama Shastri here directly settles on the Adhara Shadja. Kamakshi Amba Kamakshi. So though the basic characteristics of Varali are written by all of them, you see that each one has got a different approach in terms of handling the composition itself. I thought I'll make a division of the three in terms of starting off with Tyagaraja, where we see that in his compositions, I would say he was indeed a great visionary, in the sense that he has composed a wide gamut of compositions from simple to the complex. And here also I find a larger message that he conveys to us, that music is for all to pursue. It's not about just that people who are able to learn music can sing, but everybody can partake in that process of singing. And that is, I think, the great message that he has conveyed, that music can be a very ideal medium in terms of attaining the bhakti, in terms of a devotion to God. We look into a very simple composition in this of his, just to see how repetitively in the Utsava Sampradaya Divya Nama that is composed, where we see that simple structure is the hallmark of his composition. Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Manodharama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Manodharama, Yelani Daya, Intai Varaya, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri is that just because a composition is small, he does not compromise on the characteristics or the revelation of the ragam. So it's like an extreme kind of a beautiful process where when the song is very small, containing probably 2 lines, and here you saw all of them getting repeated. I'll share another example. However small the composition is, it will contain the essence of the ragam in its fullest, and that is the beauty. Where just because it's small, it's not just about covering one particular area or the one particular character of the ragam only, but giving you the complete picture, whether it's a small composition or a big composition. We look into one more here. In Riti Gaula, he has composed the very beautiful and simple composition Paripalaya Paripalaya. And then I will also sing to you another composition of his which is slightly more elaborate in terms of expanding the vistas of Riti Gaula. See the contrast of the two, and then probably go back to re-looking at it. Paripalaya, 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 Radha, Paripalaya, Paripalaya, If you look at it intently, the first composition was very tiny actually, but it says it all. Paripalaya, where you see that the key phrases of Riti Gaula, Nini sa ni da, pada ni da ma, ga ma pa ma ga ri sa ni sa, ga ga ma, ga ma pa ni da ma ga ri. So where you see that the basic phrases is where the heart of the ragam lies. That is where they capture, and that's why they are great. Where you see that the heart of the ragam is captured by them in any composition for that matter. So here, Nini sa is the key phrase you all know. So in the higher octave, Nini sa ni da, and the pa is a alpa prayogam, but nevertheless it is very important to add aesthetical value to the ragam. So Sagari Gabani Damani Ni Sa Sadi Dama Gama Pama Gari Sa. So where he uses Paripalaya, 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 Raghunatha, Paripalaya, 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 Raghunatha, Nidhani Nisa. So the entire thing in one line itself he captures and gives you. Whereas the same thing, the process of unfolding becomes slightly different when it becomes a bigger kriti, like where the defining phrase becomes the opening phrase here, like Bale Ni Ni Sa Bale Du Bhushani. The same phrase which you heard earlier but put in a different mold. So next, how he unfolds the ragam, like I would call like how from a bud it blossoms into a beautiful flower, like that. Bale, bale dubhushani. So also in his compositions we see that the compositions, the Sangati development is another important thing we should be talking about. So where a portion of it is kept constant for us to have some kind of a stability, and one portion gets all its melody being, glorified through the Riti Gaula. So Bale, Bale du Bhushani, Bale, Bale du Bhushani. Next step, next. Bale du, next step. Bale du Bhushani. So how he opens up the Riti Gaula in a very beautiful manner is something which we could see here. In his compositions, we see that the unfolding raga, which I told you, again, it depends on the ragam that he takes up. That is also very, very important, where you see that in a Rakti ragam like Shankarabaranam, Todi, there and all, you see that the unfolding is very, very gradual and delicately done because of the fact that we already know the ragam. Almost everybody who listens to music knows what is Shankarabaranam, what is Todi, what is Bayarea, Kambodi, and so on. So in a composition like Shankarabaranam, you see, for example, he doesn't even go much here, you know that. I think these 3-4 notes itself gives you a complete gamut of the Shankarabaranam. But he's also been instrumental in terms of being a missionary. I would say that in his times, probably he was also called a rebellion, I would say, because of the fact that he created so many new ragas. Today, we look at them as a part of our tradition, but at a time when ragas like Todi, Kambodi, Kalyani, Sahana, Ananda, Bayarea, Riti Gaula were the ruling ragas, he broke the vistas and he created so many new ragas which we call as the Vinta ragas. About 80 ragas he has created on his own through a lot of permutation combination. Again, for children, it's very interesting to study these ragas, how he makes the permutation combinations and all, everything is about math, and how he brings about the different kind of combination of notes in different melagartas to create new ragas is a very interesting study for us. But the point again here is that when he created a new raga, he was very clear that he has to give you the picture of the ragam immediately on the face. There is no ambiguity at all anywhere in terms of these ragas where he created them himself. For example, let's take the ragam Sutta Simantini. Any student know what Sutta Simantini is? No, okay. You know Todi? So, I've taken ragas which you are familiar so that from there you can connect. So, if you look at it very simply to put it, of course the Gamaka quotient is different, but Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Sa Sa Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa. So Todi minus Nishada to keep it very simple. So now when he starts a composition like this, Janaki, so immediately the mind is thinking, is it Todi? Something similar to Todi? But immediately he gives you an indication that this is not Todi but something you have created. So how does he do that? Janaki Ramana Padasa Garisa Padasa. So no ambiguity at all. So you know that it is not Sarigama Padanisa but Sarigama Padasa. Another example let's take of, say, probably a ragam like Chandrajyoti. In Chandrajyoti, I would also like to bring to your notice how he approaches the ragam in two different dimensions. These are all things as students of music we have to really look into, more than just being like kind of quizzing and say, oh, I found out that this is Bayarea, I found out this is Todi, this is Kalyani. That's not the end all. That is just probably the beginning. So after that, what happens? How does the Todi unfold? How does the Bayarea unfold in this composition? How does a rare ragam unfold through his composition? These are things that you have to think as students of music. So let's take Chandra Jyoti here. And Chandra Jyoti has created 2 compositions. This I'm drawing your attention to the fact that how, even when you're doing raga alapana or anything, what are the 2 possible approaches for you to understand to create this manodharma. In Chandra Jyoti has created Bhagayanaya and Shashivadana, 2 compositions. So in Chandra Jyoti, this Bhagayanaya, you see that he resorts to the Purvanga portion of the that particular scale and goes to the Mandrasthayi to complete that particular range. Like for example, approach in Shashivadana. Shashivadana Bhatta Jaravana. So the Uttarangam becomes the opening point. Tasadada Pamara Pamagarisa. Put together, of course, both give you the same. But it's also about giving you 2 approaches of how you can handle the ragam, the Purvangam plus the Mandrasthayi, or the Uttarangam falling into the Purvangam and giving you the complete gamut of the ragam. As for the Kala Pramana, that is another thing I thought I'll share with you, which probably some of you would have thought about or not, I don't know. Kala Pramana in terms of why did he resort to so many Kala Pramanas? What is the necessity? If we look deep into that, we see that the Kala Pramana is very important in terms of defining the Gamakas, which somebody also mentioned the word Gamaka. So the same ragam, when put into a Rendukalai, will give you a different color of the Gamaka. The same ragam, if you put it in a Madhyama Kalam, it gives you a different color. If it's in a Durita Kalam, it becomes a different color. I'll just take one note of Madhyamavati for you to closely examine here. The Rishabha, which is the life of Madhyamavati. Re, 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 ma, pa, ma, re, sa. You just look at the first line of Ramakatha. Ramakatha. So the re oscillates like re. Now slightly a different Kala Pramana. If you take Narupai Dhalike Gunarulo Re Re Mari Sari Re Re, that re is different from what I sang first in terms of the Gamaka. If you take another composition of his in probably in the a slightly accelerated speed. Nagumabu Galavani Namano Haruni Ri 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 Mama Ri Mari Sari Sani Sari Sari. So where you saw that in each Kala Pramana, like this, if you examine intently, you would see that every Kala Pramana gives a different texture, color and dimension to the note. Not only the note but also the tone which goes into the note. That is very, very important. And by tone, what we mean is the Gamakas here. Another very important contribution of Tyagaraja, which is his own unique contribution, I would say, is in terms of the compositions that he composed in the Deshadi Talam. The Deshadi and Madhyadi are two important talams that he devised and created. And in that you see that there are very many beautiful compositions. Anybody has any idea what is a Deshadi Talam? Yes, please.
A down that starts 3, 6
Hmm.
Like,
Please. Yes.
should I?
Can you put and show us what it is? That's it. Very good. But I would also like to draw your attention to the fact that these Deshadi Talams that we talk about today as the Ondra Eda Kirtana, today we call it, for our convenience, I put it into Adi Talam. But the Deshadi Talam is an influence of the music that Sri Tyagaraja heard from the Marathi Kirtankaras. You know that Tyagaraja lived in Tanjore at the time when Marathas were ruling our particular that area. So there are many Kirtan singers then. So originally we see that the Deshadi Talam, actually, for your information, is not about Lagu and To Dhrutam, but it is just about a beat, that is a turn of the hand and 3 counts like this. That was the earlier structure, like. But now, for our convenience, probably because some may forget how many times we are putting this, so we have now tried to decodify it and make it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, where we start the composition after 3 aksharas in the Kil Kalam, or male column if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or if you say in Kil Kalam it is 1, 2, 3. Let us look at a few compositions just to see how this Deshadi Talam has been employed by Tyagaraja. Brahma Bharama Raghurama Brahma Bharama Raghurama Vanturi Tikono Bayarea Bhagayare Nivayanto Chadamelana But the point here is that this Deshadi Talam is not just about this Ondra Eda. For students of music, you have to also understand how we have structured the composition internally in terms of this, where you would see that there are 2 accents. Marugela O Raghava Marugela O Raghava, where the first accent falls on the Dhrutam, but you would also uniformly see that he gives a pause of 3 aksharas. Marugela Raya O Ragha. The next syllable accent will fall in the samam. Va Makela Raya Vichara Mu Brahma Bharama Raghurama. So like this you would see that the internal structure also maintains a particular uniformity. This can be again of course the splitting of this 3 can also be like in the male column, instead of 1, 2, 3 it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 also. Like for example if you take Bagaya Naya Naya 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 Ni Maya Lento 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 Bag, but the space is the same. Here I also like to draw your attention to the aspect of sound and silence, which all the 3 I would say have employed very, very beautifully. It is not about cluttering the whole composition with melody, but it is a silence I would say rather here which gives more beauty to that particular ragam or the structure where it enhances the phrase which comes after that. Here, or in, for example, if you take the Madhyati Talam also, Rama Katha Sudha Rama Kathaya Sudha. கேட்க மாட்டேங்குதா? It's giving a harming sound. I think I would prefer this. Hello. I'm comfortable.
Sound is good.
So long as I'm audible, it's fine. No problem. I'd just like to. Hello. I'd just like to draw your attention to one more aspect of the Agaraja before I move to Dikshata. Probably after I try to cover a little bit of each, we'll come back to the three together. Am I heard? Yes. You guys here, all the students, you talk about innovation and everything in the present trend, and you think that Tyagaraja was a very traditional person. But if you look at his compositions, you would just one other example I'll give to you, where you see that a very simple ragam, Panturali, how many of you all know? Yes. So in Panturali you see that many of his compositions, it starts on the Tara Shadja. But there is also a very offbeat kind of a thought, where in one composition he never uses the Shadja at all. So that again I think is a very innovative way of looking at music itself. So let's look at just the starting lines of a few compositions to see how he has established that Panturali through the medium of giving focus on the Tara Shadja. For example, Shambha Mahadeva Shambha beyond all this, Vadana Duti Jita Swama Vasudha Manasa Kama Bhagavana Vajana Vima Pahi Shri Rama song. Ne re ga ma dha ma ga re sa ne ra ne re sa. So it goes almost from the dhani, but it doesn't touch the sa at all. So a very beautiful way of looking at the same Tantrali through various compositions, focusing only on the Shadja, and then coming to a composition where he never uses the Shadja itself at all. Another very important contribution which probably takes up a subject by itself, but I just want to make a mention, is that he was the one who actually gave multiple dimensions to the Kriti form. That subject itself is a full demonstration. I will not go into that now, but what I want to share with you is that the concept, the format of a Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam, typically what you heard in the Bhagayani and other compositions, and all these Desha Vitala compositions that we heard now, you'd see that the tune of the Anupallavi gets repeated verbatim in the latter part of the Charana, and that is something very typically a Tyagaraja kind of model, I would say, in terms of composing a Kriti. And this particular format has been very, very effective in the sense that many composers who have come after him have used this as a role model in terms of composing a Kriti. If you look at Patnam Subramanian, then Mysore Vasudevacharya, Harikeshnan Vipra Bhagavan, Papanasam Shivan, and so many other composers, the post-Trinity composers, this has been an ideal format in terms of composing the Kriti with a Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam, and the tune of the Anupallavi getting repeated verbatim in the latter part of the Charanam. But I also was fortunate to do a complete project again for the ministry on the Kriti format as devised by Tyagarajan, where I tried to explore that beyond this, what are the kind of formats of Kritis that he has devised. So you'd see that in the Utsava Sampradaya and Divya Nama, where we call it the Lambaka style, that is the Pallavi, there is no demarcation of Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam, like in Navumena where I sang, one line will be sung and all the subsequent lines will be sung in the same melody. Then he also has a format of a Pallavi, Anupallavi and multiple Charanams. Then there is no Anupallavi and Pallavi and multiple Charanams as we see in the Utsava Sampradaya Kirtana and Divya Nama. Then we also see that a Pallavi and multiple Charanams where each Charanam gets a different kind of a melody. Like for example, I could make a mention of Broche Varevare and Sri Rangini, where you see that every Charanam has got a different kind of a melody. Then we also see that a composition like Ramabhirama and Darbar, where the Charanam becomes an amalgamation of the melody of the Pallavi and Anupallavi. If you look at the Pallavi and Anupallavi and jam the two together and look, you'll see that the Charanam has been formed. So there are different ways in which he has tried to create this Kriti form. Of course, also the Pancharatna Kriti, I don't call them a Kriti because I always say that they are a unique format by themselves, because they are beyond what we conceptualize as a Kriti in terms of encompassing the best of Varnams, Tana Varnams, best of Tanams, best of the Swarajati, best of the Jati Suram, and all the forms put together, I would say, gives us a beautiful picture of what we call as the Pancharatna Kritis as such. But in common terminology, we use the word Kriti. And again, the word Kriti, for us to also understand that Kriti is not an exclusive word for music. There are some terms like Laya, Radha, which are exclusive to our Carnatic music, but Kriti as such is a very common term, Yatkritam Tat Kriti, that is anything that is composed is a Kriti. But in our own system, in the context of our music, Kriti has come to mean what we have been defining now. Looking into the next composer, Dikshadhar, what has been his unique contribution? We could say that a unique aspect for a student of music to understand is that while the repetition of the tune has been a very important prerequisite of a Tyagaraja Kirtana, in a Dikshadhar composition, we see that the melody never gets repeated through the composition. It's always fresh music which is created, be it a small composition or a big composition. You never see that the Anupallavi tune getting repeated somewhere in the Charanam like that. So it's the fresh kind of melody that is being created each time the composition comes to us. That's the first thing. Secondly, of course, apart from the fact that, like I said, Tyagaraja composed on drama here, he has composed on a wide range of gods and goddesses for us. And I would like to also bring to your notice the influence of the Vainika style in his music as well as the influence of Hindustani music. We can't really have it all today, so I will just look at some of the influences of the Hindustani music had on his particular type of composing. Before that, many students would know that while Tyagaraja followed the Melagatta scheme as devised by Sri Govindacharya, here Dikshadhar followed the Asampurna Mela Paddhati of Venkatamaki. So there we see that the kind of scale that they both thought of is the same. Each one has their own way of conceptualizing that particular ragam as such. One example I'll just take to show you about the Janaka Janya concept that Dikshadhar devised. The Janaka Janya, we have to understand, is not just about one ragam being the Janaka and then removing some notes and that becomes the Janya. In the course of the Janya being created, the texture of the character of the ragam, the gamakas involved in it, the adjacent notes, the connection, so many things get altered. Just look at one example of, let's say, Mayamalagola and Lalita as created by Dikshadhar. Srinakadi Guru Guru Jayati Jayati Srinakadi Guru Guru Jayati Jayati Chiranandana Sansatam where we all know that the Maya Malagala, I'm sure all of you know because you are learning music. But the point I want to focus here is how the Madhyama and the Daivata cling to the pa, like the mother and the children. Here you would see that similarly the Nishada clings to the Tarashaja. You see that the knee is resting on the sa. Now from this Mayamalagola, I'll just remove one particular note, the Panchama, the fulcrum point. You see how in the absence of the Panchama, it is not about just the Panchama getting vanishing from the scene, but all the other notes also start deriving a different color because of the fact that this Panchama is not here, like Lalita. Sari ga ma dha ni sa, that is gone, and now the pa, the mother is out of the scene, so the da and ma, probably they are brothers or sisters, whatever, they know that they have to cling to each other to survive, so they try to connect to each other, but the way they connect to each other is different from how they connect to their mother. So how? Gama dhama gamadani dhamaga gamadani sani dhamaga magare sa hir mahe lakshmi sada jami that how now one offshoot from here he has created Kumudatkriya as well, where you see that Ardhanarishwaram. Observe how in the again here the Panchama becomes out of the scene. So how the complete mood of the ragam now changes because of the absence of course Nisha was also absent in the Arohana, but the point is here about the removal of the Panchama, which gives a different color. Sare ga ma dha sa ni da ma ge sa sare ga ma dha ma ge ga ma da sa ni da ma ge ma ge sa make a comparative study, a very interesting study I would say, of the same ragam used by Tyagaraja and Dikshadhar, the same Lakshanam, but see how one employs a different kind of a gamaka from the other, in the sense that again here the influence of the Hindustani system seems to be very evident in the way the Dikshadhar conceptualize certain ragas, like here. Another example we could take probably is Shubha Panchirali, where I'll just sing two lines of both the composition of Tyagaraja and Dikshadhar, where you would see that what we call as a Kampita Gamaka. Anybody has any idea what is a Kampita Gamaka? We have the Dashavida Gamakas, different type of Gamakas which have been created for us to understand the movements of the notes. Kampita, to be very simple, is about the oscillation within a certain range. Like, for example, suppose say we take the same Shubha Panchirali, sa re ga ma pa de ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. If you look at the composition of Tyagaraja, you will see that the predominant gamakam is the Kampita gamakam, like pa ba da pa pa ma ba da da pa ma ba da pa ma ba da da pa ma ga ba da 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 pa ma ga ga ni ba da ga da ba da ma pa ma ga da pa ma ga ni da pa ma ga re sa re ga ma pa ma ba da ma ba da ma ba da da ba da da ba da da pa ma ba da ni da pa ma ba da ni da pa ma da ba da ni da ba da ni. This kind of what you may even call it as some kind of a regular heartbeat. This kind of a gamakam is predominantly seen. But if you see in the case of Dikshadhar, the same ragam, because of his influence of the Hindustani music, he uses more of what we call as the jaru or the glides. So let's look at two compositions, then we'll come back to that. Yen Tyagaraja.
You
glides rely more on what they call as a jaro. Da ma ga ga ma da ni da ma ga ga ma pa. Though the pa comes, ga ma pa ma ga ga da da pa ma ga ni da da ma ga re sa. Now don't think that Dikshadhar knew only the Hindustani mode. He was well versed very much in the Carnatic mode as well. So for that we could take one example of Hindolam. Hindolam, all of us know the scale because it's a very popular ragam. Sa ga ma da ni sa sa ni da ma ga sa. See what a great musician Dikshadhar was, a Vagyakara. He has used the Kampita Gamakam kind of thing that we talk about typically in a Samajavara Gamana that you see in Tyagaraja. That also is employed. But there's been a very deep impact of the Hindustani music where you see that the Hindustani bandish has had a very big impact on his composing mode. So that also he has utilized in terms of giving us a feel of the same Hindolam in the mode of a Malcolms that we talk about. Let's look at one line of the composition. Govardhana Girisha Swadami Arisho Govardhana Girisha Swadami Arisham Gopika Divanogaram Jagutakam Sadhidam. Where you would have seen that Kampitam I talked about. Gama 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 Gasa Gama Dani Sani Dama Gama Dama Gama Gasa Mama Gaga Dama Mani Dada Sani. This kind of a Kampita Gamakam that you're talking about, you would have seen in this composition. He himself has composed another composition where it will remind you of typically Hindustani bandish. Neera Jakshi Kamakshi one line of a bandish. Try to see the similarity of the movement of the gamakas that he has used from the Hindustani mode. This I'm giving you the bandish for you to compare to the previous Veerajakshi. Impact of this Hindustani bandish. It's also very interesting to see how one great composer can have a very strong impact on another composer. And this composer I'm talking about is Dikshadhar and another great composer, Rabindranath Tagore. Where the connection from the south to West Bengal, Shantiniketan. But when something is very inspiring, it just travels. That's what I wanted to share. And Rabindranath Tagore actually adopted this particular, he happened to hear the song Meenakshi Madhubadam Dehi of Dikshadhar. And through one student who was here in Kalakshetra and she went to Shantiniketan. That's a big story which we will not go into all that now. But the point is about how the Meenakshi Mevudam that Dikshadhar composed in a typically where the Jaru Gamakams are very beautifully woven, that same thing is adopted. In fact, some of the words are also used very typically he has used. But again, it's very interesting how he has adapted that composition into Rabindra Sangeet because of the fact that while Meenakshi Mevudam is all about goddess Meenakshi, here he tries to give us, he has got many categories are there in Rabindra Sangeet. So one is about the Prakriti, that is nature we talk about, and there about the Vashanto, that is the spring season. And for that he has composed a composition. One line of each, just let's look for an interesting study. Sings. It goes like that. It's a very big song. But again here, there. then madhumata modita hridaye hridaye. He's borrowed these beautiful words. Veenatano rano rano dhum krito modhumato. We call it madhumata modita hridaya hridaya. In Bengali when you pronounce it, modhumato modito hridaye hridaye modhumato modito hridaye hridaye navo prano uchashila aji. That song you can go to my CM365, the full song is there in that. There's no time to sing now. But the point is about how something very beautiful can have an impact on some other great composer I wanted to share. One more thing, of course, about Dikshadhara is about his Raga Mudra, which all of you are aware. Just we'll run through some compositions to see how beautifully incorporates the Raga Mudra. The one I sang in the front first. Kalavati Kamalasana Yuvati, the Ragam Kalavati. Manikavallaki Pani Madhuravani Varani. Or for example, Sri Varalakshmi Stubhyam. The song itself starts on Sri Varalakshmi, Ragam Sri. Bhairavi Prasangam Guru Guhantarangam Prithilingam Chintayama Rama Manohari Ragadushakari. Ragam Rama Manohari. Jujavanti Raganauti. I'm sure you guessed the song. Akhila Andeshwari. Here again, it's very important for us to also see how Jujavanti, these are all very important aspects from the historical point of view. We call Jajavanti, Bhajavanti, everything, but he has clearly given us an indication of the name of the Ragam as Jujavanti. So this gives you a clue here. In this context of Raga Malika, of course, the monumental composition of his that we talk about is the Chaturdasha Raga Malika. That itself warrants a separate session, where he starts off Shri Vishwanatham Bhajeham. A Raga Malika with 14 ragas attached to it. And here you see that all the 14 ragas happen there. And of course the concept of the Madhyama Kala Sahityam that he incorporated. Finally, a bit about Sri Shama Sastri. Always what happens is that we devote a lot of time to Tyagaraja and then a bit more to Dikshadhara, and the Shama Sastri becomes the last because of the time constraint he has to be fitted into that. But the point is that also because of the fact that he did compose very limited compositions of about 60 or 70, but it is more about the quality than the quantity here that matters, because of the fact that he has given us so much to offer in terms of ragas. And here we should also understand that he is stuck to mainly the Rakti ragas like Kalyani, Kambudi, Puri Kalyani, Ritikala, Ananda Bhairavi, Ahiri, and such ragas which are very heavy in nature. Of course, Chintamani is one of his creation that we know of, and Kalgada. I just want to draw your attention to the variety of compositions finally here that Tyagaraja, Dikshadhara and Shama Sastri, all of them composed kritis. But again, it's very beautiful to understand how each one wanted to put their stamp on the musical arena. So I would attribute the Pancharatnams of Tyagaraja as one of his unique contribution. And the second unique contribution, of course, is the Prahalada Bhakti Vijayam and the Nauka Charitram that he composed as operas. That is a very beautiful creation of his, where dramatics at its highest has been used. In the case of Dikshadhar, we see that apart from the kritis, these Raga Malikas and some Varnams have played an important role. Whereas the fourth thing I would say of Shama Sastri are his Swarajatis in Bayarea, Todi and Yadugala Kambodi. Just one line of the Bhairavi Swarajati. Here again it's the whole composition again is a beautiful analysis, I would say, where how he starts on the composition on the Mandara style and coming to the Shabja itself is a beautiful process, like where many of you would know that he starts on the Avanakrama, Sarigama, Padani and all is there. But looking carefully we see how each note has got a certain kind of a focus. Like for example, when you take the Sa, the whole thing revolves around that. All the nuances, all the gamakas like Sa, Re, Ni, Sa, Re, Ni, Re, Sa, Ni, Ra, Pa, Ra, Ni, Sa, Re. Second one, Re, 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 Sa, Re, Re, Sa, Re. If you look at it intently, you will understand how the Gandhara gets multiple facets, then the Madhyama, how the different dimensions like this it creates. And this is one process of unfolding, whereas other process is of a direct kind of, giving an opening. There's another ragam, if you could take Shankarabharanam. Saraja Dadatri Hibadiri Putri Nipada Buja Mure Sadanam Nanama Shubhamuma He has composed in Telugu, Sanskrit and Tamil, and of course in Tamil, Karunanidama is one composition. And the Tisra Nada again of the Adi Talam has been very beautifully captured by him in a composition like Shankari Shankari Chandramukhi Adhiradeshwari Shankari Shankari Chandramukhi Adhiradeshwari Shabadi Saraswata Bhavani. We also know that Ananda Bhairavi is his forte, where he has composed many compositions like Himachala Tanaya Chota Kiti Madhichi Sabaya In contrast to this, Pahishi if somebody can define an Ananda Bhairavi, it's Sapasa. I think that can be a great and genius, where though I sang Sapasa, it was a reflection of the Ananda Bhairavi at every point that you could see. Like this we can keep going on and on, but there are so many aspects of the Trinity that are there for us to actually look into. But the main thing I want to, in conclusion, say that as far as Shyama Shastri, Dikshidhar and Tyagaraja are concerned, the first thing of course is that they brought in the element of Sukha Bhava into our music, where the music directly touched your heart and soul. Whether you understood the music or not, whether you understood the language or not, whether the nuances were understood, whether the gamakas were known or not, it didn't really matter, because the music was something which just went into your heart. Then there is also music for the mind. That level you have many things that can be analyzed. Then you also at the intellectual level, where you can see that so much can be revealed by these compositions. And as I said earlier also, the most important thing to me, according to me, is that music as a language by itself was something they established through their compositions. So whether it was Telugu, Sanskrit, all that was there, but then revealing the multiple facets of the music was very, very important. And the Kriti, which is the most important form that we see today, they were the forerunners who gave us so much of variety of dimensions and structure to the Kriti as well. And absolutely most importantly, I would say that if today we are all here listening to so many kacheris, I would say that it is the contribution of the Trinity because of this multiple ways in which so many raga, so many tala, and Oedipus is another subject, then the different kind of kala pramana, so many ways of looking at the same raga, looking at the new raga. So all this has added up to give us a corpus of compositions which really lend so much variety to the kacheri. That's why if you just form a kacheri with the composition of Dikshita, Shama Shastri and Tyagaraja, you can see variety here. And absolutely most important is that their compositions pave the way for the future of Manodharma. That is very important. Today we are talking about a raga lapana, we are talking about a swaram, meraval, everything being done in a concert. We see that all these songs give us the guidelines as to how every ragam has to be approached. So that's why we also tell students learn 10 compositions in Todi or 20 compositions in Shadrabhavan before, so that you get an insight into the ragam through the composers, that is the Trinity compositions. And for new ragas again, they are the main thing, they give us the guidelines as such. But the most important thing again is that, as I always say, they did do something very, very different. But the doing different was not deliberately different, but meaningfully different. That is very, very important. Because just for the sake of doing something, we try to do deliberately something different, it may be disastrous. But trying to make something meaningful out of it is what has given rise to so many compositions. And of course, as I always conclude by saying that it is not even the touch of the iceberg that I touched, I suppose, through this session. But I think that I was on a beautiful journey. I was undergoing a beautiful journey into the compositions of Trinity. And I also took you along on that beautiful journey. But now if you ask me where is the destination, there is no destination, I would say, as far as the compositions are concerned, because of the fact that like the sky has no limit or the ocean has no limit, I would say that their compositions are limitless. So again, what you get, how much you get, what you see, how you see, everything depends again on how much you give yourself to it. That's very important. As artists or as rasikas, I always say that you get out of the art how much you give yourself to it. That's very, very important, because the more we give ourselves to the art, the more it reveals to us its beauty, its multifacets, its dimensions and everything. So that way, the Trinity, again I would conclude by saying that they have paved the way for our music and for posterity, I would say, for years to come. Now we are almost more than 200 years past their time, but still we are developing on that, and it will keep on developing and flow, keep flowing always. And that way their contribution has been absolutely monumental, priceless, and a great treasure to us. Once again, I would like to thank Srimati Anurada Sridhar, Shri Ashok Subramanian, all of you there. Some of you I don't know your names, but on a Friday evening, I know it's very, very difficult, especially for the students, to be here, as well as the other elders there. But nevertheless, my sincere thanks to you for coming here today, and whatever little I could share, I'm happy about it. Thank you again. Bhaskar.
I would like to, wonderful, unbelievable Lecdem that you have presented today, and I wish there were more people to listen to this, and there was a bigger auditorium. I'm sure people that have come here today will go and talk about this, and next year when you come here, we are going to fill a big hall. So I would like to invite.
With better speakers next year.
With better speakers, definitely with better audio system, pre-tested. But nothing is guaranteed. Once you're on the stage, right? We are just figuring it out. I'm going to invite Vidwan Shrikant Sari to come and say a few words about this Lecdem, and he's one of our city most.
I know.
Venica.
I know.
You know.
I know.
City you don't correct.
Thank you, Shakti. Wow, what a phenomenal journey you took us down. This was, maybe I'll just hold it a little bit further away from me. You know what was particularly noteworthy over here is the content and the delivery in terms of appealing to such a wide audience. I think the beginning students over here should have, I hope you have, picked up so much information on everything that was conveyed over here. I hope this was recorded so that you can get a chance to go back and listen to it and re-listen to it, because I think every time you build on your knowledge and you'll find out how many nuggets of wisdom and insight Dr. Radha actually shared with us today. For those of us who have been in this music journey for a few years, personally for myself, there were a lot of aha moments as she was discussing things maybe that should have been obvious, but maybe we don't think about very often. And some very non-obvious facts, just because of the tremendous research that she has conducted and how much thought has gone into researching the Trinity compositions and their impact, listening to a wide variety of compositions that she cited as examples. You know, as she was talking about musical excellence and the Trinity, if I may make kind of a connection back, in your Lecdem, I found all the elements that you were talking about in the Trinity compositions in your actual execution of the Lecdem. For example, when I think about the Trinity and I think about Dikshita, I think about his scholarly, intellectual approach to music. And if I may draw a parallel, in your delivery, all the research and the scholarly delivery with which you imparted that information to us. If we move on to Tyagaraja, Tyagaraja's music is one that touches the heart. He speaks to emotion. His music is so different from that of Dikshita. Dikshita takes a very objective look in his compositions. He praises the deity, it's meditative, it's religious, it gets you into a zone of really appreciating the premise and the context of his compositions. With Tyagaraja, he appeals to Lord Rama as his protector, as his friend. He sometimes yells at him, complains to him. It's a very personal bond. And that personal connection is a very strong feature of Tyagaraja Kritis. So if I may make that connection over here, the passion and the personal touch that you gave to each element that you were describing kind of combined with the scholarly approach and the really deep content. And then if we move on to Shyama Shastri, here, you'll pardon me if I make a little bit of a stretch over here. But when I think of Shyama Shastri, I think of his total mastery and control over Layam and his compositions. You know, if you really want to master a Mishra Chapel Kriti, take a Shyama Shastri Kriti. If you give examples of Tishanai, you know, all the complex rhythm that Shyama Shastri got into his composition, and here's where I'm going to make a little bit of a stretch, but for a point in terms of how that the complexity of the rhythm does not really sacrifice the flow. Instead, it adds to the flow. You know, how does one seamlessly show a complex rhythm and just melt you with how the song flows? The flow, in this case, I will move on to more than the Lecdem about your execution and your voice and your complete control over the music. If, you know, Dr. Radha here was jumping back and forth between ragams with such ease and with such impact. And that flow, you know, as I think about this, I'm torn whether I look forward to more of your Lecdem and your explanations, or if I would really look forward to a complete full-length concert by you as well, because the way you explained the Gamakam structure, the way you had complete control over the Carnatic Gamakams, and then just in one fell swoop switched over to Hindustani style, and just wowed us with how you made those transitions. The way within your Desha, the hybrid, you just went moving from one to another with complete ease in all those transitions. And here, actually, I have to give a call out to SP over here. I was during that section, within the first phrase, he was just like completely on the song. He knew exactly what she was going to pick up. And before she could even finish one syllable, he was like, yes, I know what song you're going to go to. So it was superb to watch them in action over here. Nidra Bhaskar, tremendous support on the Mridangam to emphasize all the points that were being made. I don't want to take up a lot more of your time, just that we really, really look forward to you coming and spending more time with the audience over here. Entertaining seems like too trivial of a word, but it in addition to educating us, I think there was a lot of entertainment. The passion and the connecting with the audience which you brought today was truly remarkable. And I hope we all and a much larger audience gets a chance to enjoy this much more in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, I cannot thank you enough for doing this in such a short time, because as was mentioned in the flyer, highly scholarly. I'll put it in one word, very scholarly. I wish more people would listen to all the things. Luckily, we have done a good audio recording. I don't know about the video recording. I'm going to try to sync it up and give it to Indra. So, one of the things I want to tell you, I want to mention about seeing 365. I think they are all available on YouTube. So please go and look for Dr. Radha Bhaskar. You'll find many of her works there, featured there. So please benefit from that. That's the reason why they are there. So now you get to know the artist so intimately by doing all these things. Thank you. And we are going to give a little bouquet and Andre Ring for this effort. On behalf of Bayarea artists, a small token of our appreciation to Dr. Radha Bhaskar. Give her one more round of applause, please. And next to Sarvana please. அவன் பண்ணல இன்னும் அவரே அப்படியா ஓகே நெக்ஸ்ட் டாக்டர் Nidra Bhaskar. To be a person that Nidra Bhaskar is, it's very difficult. He has pioneered in many areas and they have done them all so well. அதுதான் கஷ்டம். ஏன்னா எத்தனை வேணா பண்ணிடலாம், ஆனா எல்லாத்தையும் ஒழுங்கா பண்றது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். Thanks, Bhaskar, and he's a good friend, so that makes me very happy. Thank you so much. So yesterday I told him, I feel so odd to call you Bhaskar ji. I'm going to call you Bhaskar.
Sir, everything is there in Mudra Bhaskar YouTube channel.
Yes.
Playlist is there.
Next, we want to appreciate our own Vidwan, Saravana Priyan Srirama. As Priyan said, he was on the dot, ready that second. And in fact, when the mic was changed, there was a bass hook, and he was trying to sing at that too. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now you all have a big weekend. Go and have your good time weekend. And, oh, we want to take a photo. So, Anuji, Harinath ji, Srikanth ji.